Hello. Canadians understand we're in a trade war. It's a trade war we did not ask for, but it's a trade war Canadians expect us to win. To do that, we need cards in our hands. We can never be in a situation where another country tells us we don't have cards. We have some fantastic cards, our energy and natural resources. We need to develop those energy and natural resources in a responsible way, in an environmentally responsible way, in partnership with Indigenous peoples. That's what this MOU is all about. It is an MOU between the federal government and the Conservative government of Alberta about how we build together, about how we build interties between the Western provinces, about how we add nuclear to the base load of the Western provinces, about how we build the largest carbon capture and storage project in the world, a technology that's made in Canada, a technology we can export around the world. It's about how we work with Indigenous peoples and give Indigenous peoples opportunities for equity ownership. It's about how we work constructively between Alberta and British Columbia. This is a comprehensive agreement. It's an agreement that the people of Alberta and the Premier of Alberta believes in. Canadians see the motion that's before us today for what it is. It's a cynical ploy to divide us. It's a cheap political stunt, and so we will not be supporting the motion the Conservatives have put forward today. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm here to speak about the MOU and also the motion. The MOU itself is clearly designed to ensure that there's a conversation set at the table where everybody is invited to participate. I was able to review the motion, and to be very frank and honest, I think it's an immature waste of parliamentary time. The motion itself is clearly an insult towards Indigenous peoples. Speaking to the motion, it states that we will respect consultations, while in other conversations I did see the Conservatives pointing to the fact that there was enough jurisprudence for these projects to go forward. In terms of what our mature, responsible government is doing, is we're creating space to not only have meaningful consultation, but engagement in a timely way, to create opportunity, Indigenous equity. Consultations are really, a floor baseline to start. It's clear this is, the maximum that the Conservatives want to do. For us, we know that the ceiling is much higher. You have to make sure that you have the inclusion, the equity, the capacity to participate, and the respect. And I think for me, this motion is really a very intensive method to be disrespectful to Indigenous people. That's how I interpret it. I will not support it, and I'm surprised that Canadians are getting to see firsthand how immature the Conservative Party can be and disrespectful to First Nations, Métis, Inuit in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Today what we have is the Conservatives bringing an intentionally divisive and misleading motion to the House of Commons. What we see is a motion that doesn't include some of the really important pieces to this Memorandum of Understanding that show how we can work collaboratively with provinces to move forward on climate action. In this Memorandum of Understanding, we talk about how we're going to work together to increase and strengthen our industrial carbon price. Talk about how we're going to enhance methane regulations. Talk about how we're going to be able to interties with neighboring provinces. We work together as a country. We're actually stronger as a country. But the Conservatives show right now, by bringing this motion, that in their hands, they would disrespect neighboring provinces, they would disrespect Indigenous rights holders, and they would disrespect the fight that we need to bring for Canadians against climate change. They like to talk about pipelines. They don't like to talk about climate change and climate action. We're going to continue working to bring action forward. They're trying to drag us behind with a motion like today. Thanks.
We're going to go. Yes, okay. The Pembina Institute, maybe Minister Dabrusin or Hodgson, last month put out a report saying that in a grand bargain, quote-unquote, scenario, with pathways and with a new bitumen pipeline of 1 million barrels per day, by 2035, emissions in the oil sands will actually go up from what they are now, I think 12 megatons per year. So Can you address that and how you're actually going to drive down emissions if the MOU is saying both of those things will happen? This is sort of the grand bargain scenario.
What we have in this memorandum of understanding, and there are lots of parts that we need to continue the conversation with Alberta, as we do with all of our provinces, is on how we move forward on a strengthened industrial carbon price. There are parts that we had in our climate competitiveness strategy about a long-term trajectory on the industrial carbon price, but also on how we can increase collaboration between provinces to have a stronger credit market by harmonizing and linking markets. All of these are the kinds of conversations about how we can move forward collaboratively to bring down emissions. Enhanced methane regulations are an important piece of that as well, which is referenced in this memorandum of understanding. We're saying it would apply not only to oil and gas, but also moving forward on landfills. We know that we need to bring down emissions right across our country and right across our economy, but making sure that we're doing it collaboratively with our provinces is the only way that we're going to be able to achieve our ambitious targets.
Mr. Hodgson, can I ask you that question from earlier? How do you ensure that this vote against the Conservative motion doesn't send the wrong message to business about the Liberals' commitment to a potential pipeline?
Could folks remember to say their name and outlet, please?
So what businesses want is certainty. What businesses want is the ability to allocate capital and understand what kind of return they're going to earn on that capital. By having clarity around what the industrial carbon price is, by having clarity around what the methane regulations are, by having clarity around equivalency on the clean energy regulations, business can invest with a predictable return on investment. That's what they're looking for. This MOU will unlock tens of billions of dollars of new investment in production and in carbon sequestration. That's a win for Canada.
What do you think do you think Stephen Guilbeault can stay in the caucus?
I'm clear about where this party stands. It seems like you could make the argument that you guys are nitpicking some details in this motion in terms to, justify not supporting it, whereas the Conservatives are trying to say, where does this party stand? Where does this government stand on a new pipeline to the BC coast?
Listen to what we just talked about.
No,
Let's be as blunt as possible then.
No,
Where
but
does party
this
stand?
motion doesn't reflect the full agreement, and actually, I think says a lot about what the Conservative Party is. You're right. It says that it's a party that would not respect the rights of neighboring jurisdictions. Our Prime Minister has been clear. We're going to need to see the agreement of British Columbia. We're going to need the agreement of Indigenous peoples. There, in this motion, they don't include that. And this motion refuses to talk about climate change, any kind of commitment towards getting to net zero. We're a party and we are a government that knows that we need to continue to build Canada. That's what Canadians asked of us. We need to do it in a way that's responsible and it's collaborative with provinces and territories and respects Indigenous rights holders and never forgets that climate action is actually not just something that we need to do to protect our communities, it's also how we make sure we're more competitive on a global stage, which is moving towards a low-carbon economy.
I just want to touch on the component of clarity. I think it's a strong statement from government that we are making a decision to be inclusive, to be respectful of consultations, of Indigenous partnership, of ensuring all voices at the table are able to contribute to process. That is a clear statement. That is a clear statement from a mature government that is creating space for dialogue in a respectful way. Today's motion that's being put on the floor is not a no vote for the MOU. It's a no vote against the Conservatives playing games and creating optics and wasting parliamentary time when they should be voting on things that are way more important.
Madame Dabrusin, par rapport à Stephen Guilbeault, qui écrivait dans la presse ce matin que votre entente avec l'Alberta était une entente à rabais, que c'était un important pas en arrière dans la lutte contre les changements climatiques. Est-ce que vous partagez son constat? Puis est-ce que ça ne vient pas complètement discréditer votre gouvernement?
J'ai travaillé pour plusieurs années comme secrétaire parlementaire pour le ministre Stephen Guilbeault et j'ai beaucoup de respect pour lui et son travail. Mais je ne suis pas d'accord de la manière dont ils disent que ce sont les conséquences ou ce qu'il y a dans cette Memorandum of Understanding. Quand on voit, on doit travailler avec toutes les provinces pour atteindre nos cibles climatiques. Et ça, qu'est-ce que nous avons dans cette Memorandum of Understanding? C'est que nous sommes prêts, comme gouvernement fédéral, à travailler avec la province d'Alberta pour des choses comme l'électricité propre, comme avec avoir une tarification sur la carbone industrielle. On doit faire ces travaux ensemble. Et quand moi, je regarde le Memorandum of Understanding, je m'excuse, je n'ai pas le mot en français, mais quand on le voit, pardon? L'entente. L'entente. Quand on regarde l'entente en entier, ça démontre comment on peut travailler ensemble et comment on peut continuer à faire le travail pour atteindre nos cibles.
You're saying the Conservatives are trying to divide you. You're saying that the Conservatives are trying to divide you on this issue. Is it not your government that has divided your own caucus by bringing forward an MOU that clearly does not have the full support of your own party?
On this one, I will say that our government has been very clear, and I'll say it again. Like, we've been very clear that we need to work collaboratively with provinces and territories to continue. But I'm just saying, like, as a party, we are united in wanting to make sure that we continue to build Canada, that we build it well, that we take into account climate change in the work that we do, and that we respect Indigenous rights holders. Our party is united on that. And so I won't accept that as a premise for that question. We are united.
You is dividing your own caucus. You don't think there's divisions over that?
No.
So what's divisive? What's divisive is a Conservative government in Alberta signed up for the entire MOU, the entire MOU. The Conservative government in the federal government, the Conservatives are trying to cherry pick, to divide. What they should be talking about is the entire MOU. That is what the government of Alberta signed up for, the entire MOU. It is what we have signed up for, the entire MOU. People can have issues with particular pieces, but we are supportive of the entire MOU.
You are supportive, but there are many of your other caucus members who are not supportive.
The caucus is supportive of the entire MOU. People, yes.
Madame Dabrusin, est-ce que Stephen Guilbeault a encore sa place au sein du caucus libéral? Est-ce qu'il peut rester?
Ça, c'est, regarde, comme je l'ai dit avant, j'ai beaucoup de respect pour Stephen Guilbeault et je pense que ses idées et son commitment pour l'environnement, c'est important. Comme on doit avoir ces voix dans notre caucus libéral et on doit travailler ensemble. Alors, il y en a que dans tous les caucus, j'en suis sûre, nous avons des discussions et c'est important que nous avons ces discussions. Mais aussi, c'est important que nous arrivons à une entente comme parti, aller à l'avant. Alors, je pense qu'il y en a un voix important pour tous les gens dans notre caucus. Je dirais que tout notre caucus a un intérêt à continuer à lutter contre le changement climatique. Et on a des idées différentes de comment y atteindre, mais on doit continuer ces conversations parce que ça, c'est qu'est-ce qu'on doit faire comme pays. On doit lutter contre le changement climatique et ça, c'est qu'est-ce que les Canadiens attendent de voir de nous.
In English, you're acknowledging that there is some division in your caucus about this?
Actually, that was not what I said. What I said was that I think it's really important that we have all voices in our party that care about climate change, and I believe that we all do, to come forward and to share our ideas about how we move forward. That isn't about division. That's about how do you share ideas within a party. I mean, we are representing different parts of the country. We are a group of people who come together here and we share our ideas. And that is really important. And I think it's really important that we keep highlighting the importance that our party places on fighting climate change. And that means that we need a lot of people within our party to continue to bring forward those ideas about how we continue to fight climate change and fight for the environment. That's actually more a vision of unity. But it's how we all bring together all the different voices to be able to move forward as we have to and what Canadians are expecting from us.
Was this a whip vote? Mr. Hogan, was this a whip vote?
Would you have wanted to vote in favor of the pipeline? Was this a whip vote for your caucus?
This was not a whipped vote for me. This is a very easy decision to vote no on. It is designed to divide. In fact, it's a very frustrating motion for anybody who wants to see a pipeline built, such as myself, because it's designed to be a trap for the Liberals, but it's at the expense of the country, and it's at the expense of our national economy. If we vote yes, as we've already heard and as we've discussed, and the reason why we're voting no, it looks like we are undermining the rights of Indigenous peoples. It looks like we're undermining conversations with BC. It looks like we are ignoring the rest of the major environmental actions that are part of this MOU. And if we vote no, well, it's designed to look like we don't support the pipeline, and we do support the pipeline. The pipeline is in the MOU. We support the entire MOU. And this game playing is ridiculous. This game playing puts at risk the very thing that Pierre Poilievre purports to want, which is a pipeline. If he was thinking about this in terms of how do we actually get a pipeline built, he would never have brought forward this motion. This is nonsense, and this is game playing.
How do you manage the risk around the no? You're explicitly saying voting no comes with a risk. How do the Liberals manage that?
How do we manage the risk around voting no? Yes, absolutely. Yes, it could. And you know what? And I think that's exactly why I'm so animated about this particular issue. We're trying to manage it by talking to you about why we're voting no. We're talking about the MOU in its entirety. We're talking about the consequences of it, and maybe trying to have that meta conversation so people understand exactly what is going on and exactly why we're so frustrated with this particular motion. The reality is a no vote is a no against a game-making, game-playing leader of the opposition. And we're not doing this. Like, we're in serious times, and Canadians need serious leaders, and Pierre Poilievre is not acting as a serious leader.
Do you think, though, that you're saying there's a risk inherent in voting no? Do you think the industry is going to get the nuance of why you're voting no, or will they just see the Liberal Party said no to a pipeline today?
There's a risk in voting yes, there's a risk in voting no. This motion was designed to create risk because this motion is designed not to get a pipeline built, but instead to try to poke at people. Anyways, I have to run. Thank you very much.